During the committee investigation, we held hearings during which Pentagon officials again deliberately misled Congress under oath about the nature of the exposures that the veterans sustained. And in May of 1994, we actually received a letter from the Secretary of Defense, Health and Human Services, and Department of Veterans Affairs indicating that there was no information, classified or unclassified, indicating any detections of or exposures to chemical agents. We now know that that information was all false and that these people intentionally misled Congress on this issue.
In front of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, General Schwarzkopf publicly stated that he had no knowledge at that time or to the present when he was interviewed by the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee of PFC David Allen Fisher's contamination or injury. This document from the 7th Corps After Action Reports states specifically that yes, he did know, and his feeling was, it's only one person, so don't make anything big out of it. There should have been preparations ahead of time, and definitely there should have been a different reaction other than, oh well.
I accept nothing at face value from the DOD, the VA, the CIA, and even the Department of Energy, which really hasn't come before our committee, because they have done nothing to make me feel that when they testify before us, what they say is credible. So I always assume that we're only learning part of the story.
They're rewriting history. That's the bottom line. They're taking what actually occurred and they're making a policy decision. Their policy is, we don't admit it, it doesn't exist. Until DOD admits that it did actually happen, they don't have to do anything about it. The problem that they've got right now is if they admit that those chemical alarms were set off by fallout that made it all the way down to Saudi Arabia, they will have to admit that they messed up on the bombing raids, that their planning totally flopped, that they didn't take into account certain crucial elements that were so basic to the entire thing that it was a no-brainer. They should have known this. And their documentation proves that they actually did know this, they just disregarded it.
The fact is, they underestimated the nature of the threat during the war. They were ill-prepared to deal with the issue of low-level chemical agent fallout. They were ill-prepared to deal with the preventive medicine measures necessary to prevent our soldiers from getting sick as a result of their exposures. And they were ill-prepared to conduct the investigations afterwards. The military is not a good arbiter of the health of American citizens. We have health agencies, we have research institutes, we have foundations and universities that do this kind of research on a daily basis. Our veterans get the leftovers, people with the bureaucratic agendas, people who are trying to defend their past positions, rather than the best available medical science that every other disease in this country gets.
How much longer can the White House, the Pentagon, the Veterans Administration, the CIA, and other agencies responsible for helping these veterans be able to deny the truth?
Here's where you can make a difference. Not on my watch are we going to let something like this happen. Clearly something happened. And to see, in essence, the stonewalling by both the CIA as well as the Pentagon, I give a lot of credit, and I talked to my colleagues, Chris Shays and other Republicans and Democrats helping to lead the charge. We've at least put a foot in the door. And we've gotten them now to admit some things that I don't think a couple years ago they denied. But we have to continue. We can't let them just sweep this thing under the rug.
I feel that the Pentagon should be held responsible, and they should have some criminal war suits against the Pentagon, President Bush, all the generals that exposed the soldiers to these chemicals and toxins without warning us, using a weapon on us without knowing the full effects of it. I really feel that the Pentagon should be held socially responsible to take care of these soldiers and the people that this weapon has affected. And the Iraqi people are suffering from the radioactive material that's still in their land, and someone needs to be socially accountable for cleanup in that country. We've cleaned up foreign countries, we've cleaned up Vietnam, we cleaned up Japan, we've helped clean up Germany. Why can't we help clean up Iraq?
I think that there are certain members of the Presidential Advisory Committee who truly do understand that there is a real problem here, not just a medical problem, but a legal and a political problem. And they have tried to have as much of an impact on the process as they can. But this panel has been controlled by a group of individuals who, quite frankly, have sought to try to play down the problem and make the problem go away. It's not going to go away. And in the end, I think that history is going to judge that this panel was just another one of those Washington blue ribbon style panels that administrations use to try to make unpleasant problems go away. But this one will not go away.
The longer that it takes to get the government to properly address this issue, warts and all, the more veterans will die, the more who will become chronically ill. I, for one, would not like to see any grandchild of mine be sent off to some future war to be subjected to something like this again, where upon returning, their own government doesn't do what it should do.
I sent those soldiers to the Persian Gulf. I voted to confront Saddam Hussein, get him out of Kuwait, not allow him to control nearly 50% of the world's oil, and amass an incredible military machine. I felt very right then when I voted to send our troops there, and I feel right now. But I have this aching heart that the soldiers I sent were not treated properly in terms of their potential exposure, and clearly not treated properly once they came home. And I have a hard time living with that.
We have gotten the VA now to, I think 9 laws from when we started this have been passed to better the veterans' lives. And a landmark decision was when the VA decided to give compensation and pension to undiagnosed illnesses. That had never, ever happened in the history of the VA before, and that was very rewarding for us. It's just been a long road. It's a never-ending road so far. A lot of us cannot see the end of this road, and we don't know if we will see the end of this road. And for many, the end of the road came when they died.
I served proudly. I felt I was serving my country. I felt I was defending my country. I would fight for the American people. I would fight for the human rights. I would fight for freedom, but knowing what the Department of Defense has done to us, I wouldn't fight for the Department of Defense. I feel that the Department of Defense, it's kind of like uses people as guinea pigs in experimentations, and then they don't want to accept any of the responsibility to take care of us.
As I say, this is a transition that is very hard, and I hope I do it with grace.
It's not possible in one program to give you all that we know about a condition as vast and as terrifying and as complex as Gulf War syndrome. But whenever new information is available, we'll uncover it and we'll give it to you. And as you've seen, if you've been watching for any period of time, information that you get each week on this program on AIDS, cancer, arthritis, pain, chronic fatigue syndrome, whatever it is years ahead of the rest of the media. When it can still make a difference, when it can save lives and improve the quality of those who otherwise wouldn't know where to turn. I'm Gary Null. Join me next week as we continue our exploration towards better health.